Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Google Digital Garage for the session Track Website Traffic in Google Analytics. My name is Daryl, and I'll be delivering today's session. I am a trainer for the free skills training program, the Google Digital Garage. A little bit about myself. I come from an incredibly diverse background within sales, recruitment, hospitality, learning and development, and of course within tech. But I dedicate the majority of my time to help close the digital skills gap that is so prevalent in our world today, and really just help people connect and learn more about digital, and of course how we can learn more about our customers, and pretty much anything to do with digital, anything to do with helping people. That's where you will find me. But I'm not here alone. We're very, very fortunate to have Na with us here today, also a Google Digital Garage trainer, and she will be moderating today's chat, sharing any links, answering any questions, popping in any emojis, which I'm going to encourage you all to do. But in order to locate Na, you'll be able to, on a laptop or a desktop, just on the right-hand side, she'll have a little blue spanner next to her name, and she'll go ahead. And I think she's already said hello. If you have identified that chat, in order for you to get involved with today's chat, you would be required to have a YouTube account. It's relatively easy to get set up. Once you're all set up, you'll be able to fire over those questions to myself and Na, and we'll do our very best to answer any questions or send you in the right direction in terms of getting the information that you're looking for. Now, this particular live training is part of a broader offering from the Google Digital Garage, so I hugely encourage you to click in the link in the description below. It'll take you to their website and give you a plethora of information, online courses, and many, many more live webinars very similar to this one. This particular live training is only 15 minutes, so it's a great way to quickly learn. But if you'd like to advance and learn more, highly recommend that you jump in the link afterwards and just see what's on offer, because there's another great live training called Get Started with Google Analytics, which may be able to take you on another path to learn more about analytics in itself and how we track it. Now, just to let you know, there is some closed captions. In other words, if you like the subtitles for today's session, all you'll need to do is hover over with your mouse or tap on your screen. If it's a mobile device, then find the little cog button, which is an icon within the video, and you want to find a button that says CC with a box around it, and it should be able to give you the closed captions for today's session. With that being said, with all the housekeeping tips out of the way, I'm going to recommend that all of you pop a little hi within the chat and let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know what you would like to learn today. And then most importantly, when you greet yourself, let us know if you have used Google Analytics or if you haven't. So simply a yes or a no if you've used analytics today or yesterday or at any time before today's session. A simple yes and a no would be a great way to gauge what is our current experience in the room here today or on the call today. So while you've got that under wraps, I'm going to go ahead and jump into what are we going to be covering for the next, I would say, 12 minutes. We're going to be super, super quick. So first and foremost, we're going to jump into understanding Google Analytics. And we're going to have to jump into the comparison between something that was previously used, which is Universal Analytics, to GA4. And I'll talk more about that very shortly. But then we're going to jump into understanding where your users are coming from. Once we understand what is Google Analytics and then where our customers are coming from, that's going to be the first stepping stone for your journey when you're looking at more analytically where your customers are coming from. How can you learn more about your audience? And this is going to be the starting point. With that being said, go ahead and grab a pen and a pad, take down a couple of notes. I encourage you to do so. But just to let you know that this particular live training will be available as a recording for approximately 24 hours. You'll be able to click on the same link that you used today, and you'll be able to rewind and fast forward and really absorb the information at your own pace. But with that being said, I've seen hellos from Kawazi. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Big welcome to yourself. We got Mariskia from Indonesia. Big welcome to you. I'm not sure what time it is for you right now, but thanks so much for joining in today's session. We're going to jump into the first part, which is understanding Google Analytics. Now, Google Analytics is an indispensable part of every marketing strategy, and Google Analytics helps you track performance of your ads, your web traffic, your online activity, and it gives you the key insights to help you structure what are you going to do online, how are you going to drive the traffic, where are you going to drive the traffic from, and which platforms are you going to use. It's incredibly powerful, and website traffic is the key indicator of success, as you can see where your visitors are coming from, where are they spending their time, where are they clicking on the buttons that you want people to buy your products and your services. So I cannot overemphasize the importance of having analytics within your strategy, or if you have a website. So I haven't seen any yes or no's, but I'd really like to know for those who are watching the session today right now, simply a yes or a no. Have you used Google Analytics before? Simple yes or no. I'd love to understand who's got some experience, and please understand that this is a completely non-judgmental environment and we welcome questions and queries and definitely your input. So jumping into the first part, understanding Google Analytics, let's look at the comparison first and foremost. Don't be too overwhelmed. We're going to jump into a couple of jargon busters very, very shortly. But before we jump into how data from Google Analytics lets you have a quick look at recent updates, it's a tool for you to get set up. So look at all of these words. So we have on the far left-hand side something called Universal Analytics, and everything on the right-hand side is something called Google Analytics 4, or for short, GA4. Now, just to give you a little bit of jargon busters, we have a couple of names. For example, user on both left and right-hand side. The definition of a user is a person who has visited your site. That's simply what it is. A user is somebody who has used or entered your website. Then you have something called a user property, which you'll see on the far right-hand side. Now, a user property is a characteristic of that person, like their language or their location. And that's going to be really useful information for you to understand more about where your customers are coming from, what languages are they using. Next up, we have another word that says session, and it's in those blue boxes on the far left-hand side. But a session is essentially every time somebody visits your website and how long, what is the duration of that visit, what pages were they viewing, and they can add something to their basket. They could have filled out a contact form, but what did they do within that session? From the moment they entered the website to the moment they left. That is what we call a session. Next up, we have something called a parameter. Now, that's on the far right-hand side next to page view event. A parameter is an extra information about a specific event. For example, if the event is a checkout, the currency would be a parameter. So if they had to check out with all their products, a parameter would it pounds? Is it euros? Is it South African rand? What type of currency? And that would be a part of the parameter. Now, these important changes between Universal Analytics and GA4 is GA4 helps you better understand your customer's journey throughout the website. And your customer's journey is something that should be at the forefront of your mind from any business or any organization. Second of all, it's better designed to help you see trends in your own data. Third and last, but we have it gathers information from both websites and applications, helping you better see where they are engaging with your offering. So I've seen a couple of yes and no's. Lendita, beautiful name. Hopefully I pronounced that correct. Definitely use Google Analytics. We've got Kazi as well, also a yes, and Mariziska a no. So perfect. A little bit of a combination between the two. For those, we just want to make sure this is a very basic approach to what Google Analytics is. So if you're a little bit confused with all of those words, don't you worry. We're going to break down a few of them, but your terminology and the jargon will come with time. It's kind of like learning a new language, but you can't learn a whole dictionary in one day. So take it with time, and that's just going to be the basics. We've spoken about a user, which is somebody who visits your website. A session, which is basically going to encompass when they joined the website or when they entered the website to the time they left, and what did they do during that time. And we also spoke about what is a parameter of an event. Now, GA4, also known as Google Analytics 4, is a new version of Universal Analytics. It was launched in 2020, and it has started, if you have started to use Google Analytics since then, your default experience, however, it would have been prioritized to 2020 and may need to an update. In other words, if you had UA before, you will have to transfer over to GA4. So Universal Analytics will be discontinued, and then you will be using GA4. Just for your knowledge, the historical data from Universal Analytics will not be transferred over to GA4. Just keep that in mind. So you will be starting from scratch. The main update is that GA4 is more intelligent with machine learning at its core to find insights, trends, and predictions. You can get a complete understanding of those customers across devices and platforms. A little bit of a tongue twister there. And you can view web and app interactions together. Incredibly useful. So if we now look at GA4, this is something that should be on everyone's mind. If you used Google Analytics before, may have been UA, Universal Analytics, we need to think about GA4 moving forward. When we open up accounts, this is something what it may look like. Now, again, for those, Mariska, don't be too overwhelmed. And for those who know a little bit about Google Analytics, you may see a couple of graphs, a couple of numbers. Generally speaking, within these graphs, there's an x-axis and there's a y-axis. We just need to find out what those parameters are or what are the metrics that are being measured. Currently on screen, we have users, new users, and average engagement time. And this is basically giving you a graph over a period of time. But before we get overwhelmed with graphs and pictures and all of that type of vibe, what we need to do is think about these 4 main areas. So when you jump into GA4, there's going to be 4 grouped topic areas, which is acquisition, engagement, monetization, and retention. And this is your go-to. The moment you jump onto the platform, this is going to be all broken down. And depending on what you're looking for will depend on which topic you will jump into. So let's break down those 4 different topics, which is number 1, acquisition. That's where are the customers coming from? Are they coming from YouTube? Are they coming from paid advertisements? Are they coming from Facebook? Where are they coming from? Next up, you have engagement. Once they have jumped onto your website, what are they doing? Are they spending more time on a specific page? Are they clicking on a certain product? But we can start to gauge and understand what your customers are doing through that engagement topic. Next up, we have monetization. There, we all know what that is. That's pretty much why we are looking to incorporate Google Analytics, is how do we find out the monetization? Where are we converting? I don't want to use too many different jargons, but converting would basically making a sale. Or it could be another goal. Then we jump into retention, which is, are our users returning? How can we nurture them to become repeat customers? Now, we've only briefly touched base on the very surface, but to be perfectly honest, if you jump back to the basics and you approach every time you have a session that you jump into Google Analytics, which a session in itself would be the time that you are going to have a look at your Google Analytics, you're going to jump into these 4 main topics, depending on what you are looking for. Where are your customers coming from? Where are you making money? Where are they spending their time? It all comes down to asking the right questions. Now, I'd love to talk more about this, but coming down to asking the right questions, I highly recommend that you click in the link in the description below and find another great live webinar called Get Started with Google Analytics, along with Skillshop. And hopefully now we'll pop the link into the chat, and Skillshop will help you learn more about GA4 and take you through that process. But what we're going to do just for today's session is jump into the first part, which is understanding where your users or your customers are coming from. And that's hopefully should be on the forefront of your mind pretty much all the time. If you're a business, charity, or organization, constantly learning where are our customers coming from. Once we can identify where our customers are coming from, we can start to improve those channels. So let's look at it from a funnel perspective. How does tracking traffic work? A little bit of a tongue twister there for you, but we have overall traffic acquisition. So that's basically overall from our website point of view, where are people coming from? And there's multiple places where they can come from. Organic search, paid search. They could come from an advert. They can come from Facebook. They can come from YouTube. They can come from multiple places, but that's from an overall perspective. Next up, jumping down to the next part of the funnel, which is page traffic. Within that, can we get more specific on the page traffic? Are they landing? Are they going on specific pages? What are they doing on any given page? Then the page visits, which is going to be mining deeper into what is happening on each page. Are they clicking on this button 5 times? Are they clicking on that button more than this button? Are they looking at this more than they're looking at this? Did they scroll down? Did they scroll up? So much information that's going to be incredibly useful to you. But when you look at that from an overall perspective, again, it comes down to what questions are you looking to have answered? Don't be overwhelmed by all of the information that's going to be produced for you. It's going to be, okay, well, there is that information, but now let's find out what happens on this specific page, and let's approach that from just look at it for 5-10 minutes. And then to the next part of, okay, well, where is our overall traffic looking at? So each an individual. Tracking your website traffic, again, if you're looking to track your overall traffic, you're going to go to the acquisition tab on the far left-hand side, and you're going to simply click onto traffic acquisition. In this will help you learn more about, as you can see on screen, the few graphs will give you a time period of how many people over time have come to your website from organic search, direct search, unassigned, display, or paid search. This will only happen once you've driven traffic, but once you've driven that traffic, you can understand where they're coming from. Then who are your users? All you'll need to do is click onto the acquisition tab and click into user acquisition. Clicking the plus sign will now be able to learn more about where are they coming from, what part of the country. Then you'll be able to find out how to navigate moving forward, which is getting more traffic. Now I'm running out of time, so over to you, switching over to GA4, find 3 sources of website of traffic, jump into your own Google Analytics and start to learn more about those specific tabs. But I've run out of time. I say a big thank you to everybody that got involved with today, and of course with NAR as well. But without further ado, look after yourself, look after each other, and I would say bye for now.